The game of money. Once again, welcome back, Oren. Tell us about your sponsors. Again, the sponsors are Pitch Anything. Wait, isn't that your book? Yes. Both myself and Pitch Anything sponsor this podcast. It is called The Game of Money. Welcome. Look, I know you're here. You're an A player. You want stock picks or you want scripts to close deals. I understand that. And then you get a bunch of context, ideas, methodology, and stories. But believe me, at the end of those stories is a rainbow called more money for you in the game of money. Let's get into it. I just went to Italy for a week. Oh, how was it, Oren? It was rough. Hold on. Where in Italy did you go? Like, was it Sicily? Was it a bad area? Did you get shot at? Were you in a high crime area? No, actually, I was in Venice. Venice. Tell me more. Why was it a rough trip? I took 25 of our investors to see our research and development innovation center in Venice, Italy. Wait, let me get this straight. So you took 25 investors to Italy in Venice and you had it rough. No, that wasn't the rough part. I'll get to that part yet. That part was great. There is nothing like in the city of Venice, going down the Grand Canal in a boat, spray picking up everywhere, seeing the San Marco Plaza and the ancient city of Venice, which is amazing. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the city of Venice inside of the game of money in a moment, but having those investors there, those bonds and relationships together. And I'm pretty selfish about why I do this, because the investors who invest in us here in the United States join us on this trip to Italy, see our research and design and innovation center in this area, and then they continue to invest. They bring their friends in and they invest more. So I love doing that. None of that was rough. The pizza was good. The spaghetti was good. The arc of the trip was good. And the investors really enjoyed it. And we built bonds with them. I was also there to raise or get a commitment of $4.1 million from one of our partners. And that is hard because in Italy and Europe, it's not like the United States. They are not cashed up in large funds. They don't have the capital markets the way we do. And even $4.1 million is a lot of capital for them. I went there and I don't speak Italian, and sometimes they don't speak English that well. So there's a language barrier, there's a cultural barrier, there's a distance barrier, there's a time constraint. It's a lot of money for them, and it is 10,000 miles away. There's lots of things not set up in my favor. And also, it is the jet lag, so I'm tired, and truthfully, I eat a lot of pizza and drink beer, which doesn't put me in peak performance. So I'm not really set up to raise this $4.1 million from Giancarlo and his as well as I can. But I go there with one mantra in my head. And this is it. If you want a stock tip, if you want a pro tip, if you want a pointer, if you want the next chapter and Pitch Anything, and here we go. This is it. You can write it down. You can tattoo it on your arm. Just use a permanent marker and write it on your laptop. When you go and ask for money, you will get an opinion. When you go and ask for an opinion, you will get money. Why does it work that way? Pitch Anything describes that. You have to have intrigue. It's around neediness. It's around frame control. All those elements come into play, but you can summarize it this. When you go and ask for money, you will get an opinion. So how do you not ask for money? I'm going to land that plane at the end of this episode. But I want to get back to Venice. If you haven't been to Venice, it is amazing. If you're American, you are the way you are because of the city of Venice. It ties back to our cultural standards. I think I mentioned this last time. Our cultural standards tie back to the way of thinking that emerged during the time of the Renaissance. That is what we consider to be really the height of inquisitive thought, of curiosity, of logic, of romantic ideas that we can be separate from the church and we can have the state and we can have commerce. All of that sprung from the city of Venice. What is interesting to me on all that is the city of Venice was built on logs. So vertically, 1 million vertically stood up logs. And so 1,500 years ago, hey, and I have the same question you do. What happened to those logs over 15 years? They rotted, right? And they're just big holes. No, the Romans, who've been around for 1,500 years before that, perfected this technique of putting logs in salt water or brackish water, and they become petrified and almost like cement in the way they do it. So there's 1 million logs that support the city of Venice. There's plenty of land in Italy. Why didn't they just use some land instead of making land out of logs, sand, and cement? What sense is that? Because during that time, the Lombards were, so the Roman Empire had fallen around 1500 years ago. And the Huns and the Lombards were these barbarian hordes that were invading the more civilized or more culturalized areas of Italy. And that allowed them to have this defensive positioning. And so the city was about, we could do commerce, we could be defensively positioned, we could have access to the sea very quickly, we have multiple escape routes and multiple attack routes. So it was a strategic build. They didn't mean it, initially to become the center of modern civilization, which eventually became. So that is fascinating to me that they could just say, hey, we're just going to build land out into the ocean to avoid attack. And so they solved, and they became these pioneers in technology, in commerce, and then the commerce brought in money. The money allowed libraries and thinkers and a place for cultural society to develop. And so what does this matter? Well, eventually, Italy became fantastic at material science. So out of thinking and out of freedom and out of commerce, what happened is they wanted to build a economy, right? But they didn't have natural resources. And now we're going to tie it into you, because as a banker, as somebody who deals with money in the game of money, we do not have natural resources. We do not have software. We don't have manufacturing companies. We don't own real estate. What we do is we know how to improve those things. I'm going to get to it in a minute, but what we don't have in finance, natural resources. We don't own oil. We don't own anything. We can't make anything. We can't do engineering. We can't code. We can't do software. We can't build buildings. We don't have steel. We can't make anything. Like, what we have is the ability to get other people's resources and improve them. So for example, I had a couple examples here of the things that the Italians did. So if you think about it, I made a list. Coffee, right? Who is the best in the world at coffee? Starbucks? Pete's Coffee? The Coffee Tea and Bean on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles? No. It is Illy Coffee, is Lavazza Coffee. It is the Italian. That's where the espresso came from. Where does espresso come from? Does it grow on trees? Does it grow on banana trees? Do you go and pick it? No, it's this super complicated process of processing the beans, grinding the beans, superheating the beans, all of it in a very specific ratio, in a specific way, to specific tolerances with specific kinds of equipment in order to make espresso. That comes from somewhere. So in Italy, they do not have oil. They do not have coffee beans. They do not have natural resources. They have to get textiles, right? They had to get the textiles from the Orient, and then what they did with it is amazing. So that is a country, to me, that is most like being a banker. You don't have anything. You improve the things that you can buy, and that's how you make your economy. That's how you make your money. That's how you make your industry. So coffee came from North Africa. Coffee was introduced to Europe through trade with the Ottoman Empire in the 16th century. Venice, as one of Europe's most powerful and wealthy trading hubs at the time, was among the first cities to import coffee beans from the Middle East. Venetian merchants played a key role in popularizing coffee through Italy and beyond. The Espresso Revolution. One of Italy's most significant contributions to the coffee world is espresso, which I just mentioned. When did that happen? In 1700s, 1500s, 1200s, during the time of cavemen? No, 1901. An Italian named Luigi Bezzera patented the first espresso machine, which brewed coffee quickly under high pressure, creating a concentrated shot with rich flavor and crema on top. This method revolutionized how coffee was made, leading to a faster, more intense coffee experience. There it is. That's the game of money. Whatever you do in money, it has to revolutionize how something is made, leading to faster and more intense experience. That's the heart of it. The culture of espresso, going back to coffee now, see that I switched from you back to coffee. The culture of espresso grew in Italy, particularly after World War II, when coffee bars began serving affordable espresso to the masses. The drink became integral to daily Italian life, with Italians developing strong preferences for how coffee should be prepared and consumed. There is clue number 2. Italians developing strong preferences for how coffee should be prepared. And in the game of money, you improve something to a higher standard, and you set the standards, the frame, the preferences for how that thing should be done. In addition to that, they began with the commitment to quality and craftsmanship. Italy's dedication to coffee extends beyond just drinking it. The country's attention to detail in roasting, blending, brewing has helped shape its reputation. Think about that for your career, the thing you're doing. The attention to detail in whatever it is you do, in this case of coffee, it was roasting, blending, and brewing, helped shape its reputation. When you say espresso, what do you think? I know some of you are like 19 years old and you think Starbucks. Over the age of 24, 30, 50, you say espresso, we're talking about Italy, right? Why? Italy imports coffee beans from countries that grow them, Brazil, Ethiopia, Colombia, and then it does its magic. You, in the game of money, need to import something from somebody who knows how to do it. I don't know if it's from Brazil. I don't know if it's from Kansas City. I don't know if it's from Manhattan. I don't know if it's from Silicon Valley. But you don't do the thing. You improve it. So Italy imports coffee beans from countries that grow them, such as Brazil, Ethiopia, and Colombia, and then it roasts them with a high level of craftsmanship and a skill honed over time. The focus has always been on maintaining high standards, quality, flavor, and preparation. That is what you do with money. You don't do the thing, you improve the thing. And your focus is not on getting the oil. It's not on getting the coffee. It's not on getting the textiles. It's not on getting the real estate, whatever it is. The focus has been on maintaining high standards in quality and preparation. I like this. When I started looking at this, I found this paragraph. Italy itself doesn't grow coffee, but it became a leader in selecting and importing the best beans from coffee growing regions around the world. As I said, coffee companies, Italian coffee companies such as Lavazza and Illy developed strong relationships with producers in countries like Brazil and Ethiopia, like I said. Blend mastery. I was so attracted to this term. Italy become known for creating specific blends of Arabica and Robusta beans, two of the most popular types of beans. The skill in blending with different flavor profiles, ranging from smoothness and acidity of the Arabica to the stronger, earthier taste of the Robusta, became a hallmark of Italian coffee craftsmanship. Italian roasters developed a deep understanding of how different origins and roasting levels could combine to create a balanced, consistent flavor profile. Just change that paragraph around to be about money. And that's what you do when you play with money, when you are the banker, when you are in the position of raising money, deploying money, and working with money. So the skill in blending with different profiles, that's what you do, right? You don't buy a company, you don't buy into a company, you don't acquire a piece of real estate and leave it alone. You blend it into something else, right? But you understand what they call it flavor profile, but you understand what the flavor of the market profile is. So you take a piece of real estate and maybe it's as easy as you take a neighborhood home and you blend it with a technology model like Airbnb, and now you have something that's never done before, and you get a piece of coastal property that you're owning into using the Airbnb. That's the simplest process of blending. Of course, there's many things that are more complicated, but that's what I mean by blending. And so you have a deep understanding how you originate something, add your special technique to it, and make it something that didn't exist before and is very valuable. This is literally what the country of Italy without its natural resources has to do. And this is what you have to do with the access to money, but not the owner of the raw material. So I want to blend down here and skip to the bottom and talk about the 5 or 6 things that I noticed in Italy that were what I would call like the code or the codex to deal making. Don't worry, we're going to get to stock pick, pro tip, deal making stuff very specifically here in a minute. But this is what every banker does, right? They have a blending technique. You raise the money and then you take an asset, right? And that asset has a cost and it has a value, but the day after you buy that asset, you can probably sell it for less than you bought it for. Now you have to blend something into it. Management, technology, money, a plan, oversight, take it to a different market, take it public. Whatever it is, write this word down. I blend assets, money, and technology. That's what you do in the game of money. I blend those things together. You are not buying something, a Michael Jordan baseball card, and just sitting there and doing nothing with it and waiting for it to increase in value. Can you do that? Yeah. That was called 2020, 2021. You have to, that's timing. Timing is not a business. If you come to me and say, hey, I'm raising $1 million and I'm in the timing business, I do not give you $1 million. Nobody does. That's a horrible business model. Blending is what works. You go, hey, I'm buying this asset. I'm combining it with this technology that I've sourced, and I'm bringing in this management and I'm putting this plan. Oh, now we have something that is you can put money into and can quickly become more worthwhile. Blending, that is what you do. Innovation in brewing methods, right? Here's the coffee version of it. I don't want to overextend this metaphor, but here's from the coffee. Manual craftsmanship in brewing. Skilled baristas control grind size, tamping, temperature, and timing to ensure perfect espresso extraction. Grind size, tamping, temperature, timing, right? And so you have a brewing method for deals. You put money in a deal and you brew it, right? So what are those variables that you control to create the perfect extraction? For me, again, it is management, it is technology, it is the customer selection, how we go to market, what the brand is, how we defend the money we make from other people who want to get that same money from the customers we have. And it is pace and capital raising. Those are, for me, that's the grind size, the tamping, the temperature, and the timing, right? And that provides me the perfect extraction in a deal. What is your brewing method? So hopefully you got a piece of paper and you're writing this down. Blending is one thing. I'm blending these assets together, but what are the methods that I'm using to blend these technology, asset, people, money together? The next thing to continue, attention to detail and preparation. Right? And so there's a bunch of stuff here: grind size, freshness, temperature control, brewing time. We don't have to get in that, although you can see I do love coffee and the idea of it. Hopefully you do as well. But it's attention to detail and preparation. If you're in the money business, you cannot have lack of attention to detail in preparation. Whether you're preparing for a presentation, whether you're preparing a financial model, whether you're preparing a pitch to bring in management, it is very easy to see the lack of preparation. Let's not get political, but let's get political here for a second. If you just saw this last debate between Harris and Trump, by even Republican standards, lost that debate. Why? One reason: he did not prepare. There were so many ways he was positioned to win that debate very easily. You can listen to the Ben Shapiro breakdown, whether that's your cup of tea or not, I don't know. Ben Shapiro talks very quickly. He is very, if you're not familiar with this commentator, I would say he is obsequiously dedicated to the Trump brand and really does not entertain other perspectives. So it is a very one-sided piece of media. You will not go away saying, hey, I've heard both sides of the story. To be fair, you won't come away from CNN with having heard both sides. You won't come away from New York Times. You won't come away from Twitter. You won't come away from Fox News. Wait a second, Al Jazeera. There's nowhere for you to get media. That's what we discovered. But anyway, Ben Shapiro will give you one side of the story. Trump could have crushed Harris in that, but he did not prepare. Attention to details and preparation. If that is a mouthful for you, write this down. Details matter. Preparation is everything. If in today's world, if you are winging it, I wish I had a fancy expression here. If you're winging it, you're zinging it. But I don't. If you're winging it, you're in B player mode for sure. We know. So I'm a pitch professional. I prepare presentations. Some of the presentations I'm currently giving, I have 400 hours preparing. I know what a prepared presentation looks like, and I know what winging it. Guys will come in here, they'll put this up, they'll get to slide 3. I'm like, hey man, are you winging this? Yeah, I just worked on it this morning. I'm like, really? You came here and you're giving us a presentation? Put the presentation away, just tell me what is going on, and that's better than going through this madness. Attention to detail in preparation. The next thing is in the why is Italy so great at coffee? The parallels I'm drawing from that into the game of money is rituals in the evolution of culture. If you go to Italy, it is not Starbucks. It is not the coffee tea and bean on Pico Boulevard, in South Los Angeles. Espresso rituals. Coffee drinking is a daily ritual with specific customs for when and how it's consumed. And there's a culture to it. If you're in the game of money, the way you do money has to have a culture and it has to have rituals. If you just wake up and you're flailing around trying to raise money or deploy money, and there's not a why or reason or la dolce vita, a sense of sweetness in what you do, here's what I can tell you. If you're interested to see the way we're raising money, the way I'm raising money, what can you do? Oh my gosh. The way I raise money is so interesting. I can't even tell you how to get in the funnel. Just email me, Oren@pitchanything, and say, Oren, I want to see how you're raising money, and we'll get you into some of my presentations. But there is a sweetness to it, a culture, a way of doing it, a way of community. It is not about Certainly it's about the numbers, but it is not about the numbers. It is about the why. It is about the community. It is about the camaraderie and the sense of we're doing something purposeful that has a why together. What is all that? The evolution of a culture relative to what we do to money. I meet a lot of people in the game of money, and all they're trying to do is make money, and that scares the shit out of me. Because when all you're trying to do, when money is your culture, money is your motivation, money is your false idol, money is your God, what do I think you're doing? I think you are cutting corners on your family. I think you're cutting corners on your spiritual development. I think you're cutting corners on time with friends and having meaningful relationships. When money is your God, when money is your false idol, when you idolize it and all you are doing for is have a culture of money and focus on it, might be called venture capital. And we can talk more about what that means. Most importantly, you're cutting corners. And if you're cutting corners on your family, if you're cutting corners on your wife, if you're cutting corners on your time with your children, if you're not spending time with your friends, if you're not, then ultimately you are very likely not taking care of yourself, because those are ways that you do take care of yourself. So if you're not taking care of your most important relationships in life, and you're not taking care of yourself, in which you have no more important relationship than you, right? Maybe your faith, your wife, and your children, and your friends, right? And you're cutting corners of those people. How are you going to treat me? And I just met you. The game of money has to be played with two sides to it: cultural, taking care of yourself, and you have to show people what culture you live in and how you do things, right? So when it says, again, there's rituals, espresso rituals, what business rituals and what culture do you live in? And then you can hit this last topic, which is the pursuit. When I see people playing the game of money sloppily with old rules without investing time, effort, and energy into seeing what is happening in the markets today, where are the macros, what's happening with the election, is the Fed going to do a 50 basis point rate cut, a 25 point base cut, talking to bankers, understanding what is happening with energy, oil, pricing, election cycle, what are the technology trends, what is AI contributing to, when is return on investment going to come from AI, what is venture capital investing in, where are we in the macro cycle? Without paying attention to those things, I don't believe you are in the pursuit of perfection. All those things add up to the pursuit of perfection. So when you demonstrate, and if I had to review them, it would look like this. Blending techniques. How are you blending the stuff? What innovation are you bringing to your blending or brewing methods? What is your attention in detail in preparation? What culture are you doing? Are you taking care of yourself and your family and the people around you? Because you're not taking care of them. You're definitely not going to take care of me and my money. And where can I see you pursuing perfection? And that is what I learned in Italy. And those were my takeaways from my notebook and my notes and my observations that we can take away from how they run their economy, culture, and society professionally and successfully, that we could take away in the things we're doing. Because the game of money is hard. So again, I know you came here for pitch techniques, stock picks, pro tips, and ideas. And I want to give you that right now. And here we move into the pro tip. Very likely you are going to leave this presentation, this podcast, this Game of Money episode, and go give a pitch, try and sell something. You might even just be trying to sell something to yourself. The thing I see missing from 10 out of 10 pitches that I see, hear, listen to, how people prepare, is the origin story. And because I just went to Italy and came back with and we talked about origin story today, Venice, the city of Venice, how the Renaissance was the origin of modern civilization, how it opened up the separation of church and state, and the ideas of logic and modern thought, right? And you can see there's at least an origin story there. Whatever you're pitching comes from a ecosystem. There's a cultural origin story that it comes from. Maybe it came from the reason your company or your idea is the way it is. It percolated out of some primordial ooze. Was that ooze Silicon Valley? Was that ooze Boston, which has its own very distinctive way of doing things and culture? Was it Chicago? Was it Florida? Was it Arizona? Was it oil Texas? The thing you do, if it's a technology, if it is a finance mechanism, if it is a real estate, if it's automotive, It comes from within an industry and it has a culture. Without showing me or your investor or your joint venture partner or your business development partner or your customer that it came out of a culture and a way of doing things like we talked about today, I don't have context. I don't know why this thing exists or where it came from. Think about that as an origin story. So if I can get you to stop driving your car or text yourself during your car, or grab a piece of paper right now, right? Just write these questions down. What is my origin story for the deal I'm pitching today? What is the origin story? Ecosystem, what culture, what geography, what space did this come out of? Why do we exist? What is the origin story? If you have one, email it to me. I'd love to take a look at it. Happy to comment on it. And think about this, right? I don't know if I'm $25,000 a day or $75,000 a day or $1 million a week. All of those things are true. Maybe none of those things are true. But how many people are going to really listen to the sound of my voice now, write the origin story for their deal, send it to me, Oren at Pitch Anything, right? I don't know, 2, 3, 5, 8. If it's 8, and it's less than 10, I'll spend the time. The 25,000, 50,000, 75,000, million, $0, whatever. I don't care what you, I put it out there. And so there's no integrity gap, I'll work on it. I'll take a look at your origin story, and I have a framework for origin stories, and I'll try and read. So send it. You'll be one of one, one of two, right? Wake up, pursuit of perfection, get your culture right, innovate your methods, attention to detail and preparation, and blending technique. Send me your origin story. I'll be all over it. All right. This episode has been sponsored by Pitch Anything. If you have a chance to grab another copy and share it with a friend, do that as a repayment for the time, money, energy for the whole team. Put this together. Raheem and Jeff and Michelle and Marissa and Nate and all the guys. There's a lot of people work on this. Pay them back by buying a copy of Pitch Anything. Chapter 3, which I believe is Intrigue. That's a good reread. If you want to know how to drop intrigue, get inside of that. I will see you next time on the Game of Money.